All right, y'all, we back. Probably quicker than you thought we'd be. Had a quick vacation trip, and now we back to get into other people's perspectives, other sides of this story. We heard the Flores Twins side in depth from the beginning of their game, 6, 7 years old, running around with their father, learning to hustle, all the way to their early to mid 20s, and them cooperating against the cartel. There was a lot of gruesome stuff in that story, a lot of stuff that would terrify the average human being. It was an ugly story, but they also painted a pretty little picture of their role in it all, which I don't expect them not to do. You know what I'm saying? I expect them to protect themselves and their character as much as they choose to, and everybody's gonna do that. Like, when people want to tell their story, they're gonna tell it in the light that they feel they should be looked at. So it's pretty much a puff piece in the sense that, as far as the Twins were concerned, they weren't gangsters. They were businessmen. My question is as such: did you have to dip into a gangster's bag every now and then to get your business to run thoroughly? In this video, we're gonna be focusing on Wrong to Strong, aka JC was a Latin king from Chicago. He grew up with Valerie. He claims in the street Valerie basically raised him. So he has a deep history with Valerie. He was an acquaintance and associate of the Flores Twins, somebody that I believe worked with them a few times. He was a very close friend with Kato. He too was coming up in Little Village in Chicago. We're going to go through his perspective. We're going to see what he has to say about it all. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. The cost of admission is a push of a button. Holla.
There's a difference between people that are big time and do their own dirty work, and there's people that are big time that do their dirty work. So, you know, I just knew that he didn't do his own dirty work. So I kind of felt like I could push him around a little bit. Pedro Jr., you know, so he's the one that married Valerie.
He's mistaken in this video a couple of times Peter and Margarito. He's saying Peter Jr., but it was actually Margarito Jr., which was Jay. I'll be trying to point out when he mentions the right one or the wrong one. Right here, JC's talking about how he had a bully nature back in the day, and he would use that bully nature on Jay, not really realizing what Jay could have done to him.
The difference between people that are big time and do their own dirty work, and there's people that are big time that do their dirty work. So, you know.
There it is. That's just another man's perspective. There's people that do their own dirty work, and there's people that are willing to put a bag down for some dirty work. He saw them as the type of people that'll put a bag down for some dirty work. And it doesn't surprise me, because what I picked up, not from anyone else, not from nobody else's perspective, but from the Twins' perspective, is that money was the answer to every time they messed up. They messed up for you, they messed up for themselves, they messed up this, that, the other, they fixed it with money. I don't think a person like that would necessarily not put a bag down on somebody's head. JC's childhood friend Valerie married El Chapo's #1 salesman in the U.S., which was Jay.
He didn't do his own dirty work, so I kind of felt like I could push him around a little bit. Pedro Jr., you know, so he's the one that married Valerie.
Margarito Jr.
Yeah, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I guess I try to be a bully when you know when I feel that I'm stronger than somebody. So, you know, at the time, I just thought that, you know, I knew he was big time, but I knew that I remember him saying something, and I grabbed him from the back, and I was just like, kind of like, I guess, like, kind of trying to choke him, I guess. And like,
were you fake playing? Was it? Were you playing or?
Yeah, it was. I guess playing,
Well,
trying to be
well.
like a bully. You know what I mean? But you know, at the time, I didn't know he had the ties that he had. And when when Valerie gave me that call from Mexico that they were staying at that big mansion in Mexico, I started thinking. I was like,
CHAPO's mansion.
I was like, holy shit, like, I could have put 100 grand in head, like, with no problem, you know, and here I am around, but.
Period. Gotta be aware. People that you don't know might think that you have some sort of advantage over them, and you don't know that. They could pull up a big ticket, drop a bag on your forehead.
I think at the same time, me having such a close relationship to Valerie is probably what made that not happen.
Did he, when you did that, I mean, did he like react? Did you have an argument, or was it all played off like ha ha ha?
Yeah, it was played off, you know what I mean? But I know it bothered him. I could see it in his face.
Tell me about the relationship, or what you observed of the relationship and interaction between the two brothers, and what the differences between them were.
Well, Junior was the one that I knew the most. The other brother, I only seen him maybe
Margarito?
Margarita.
Right there, Al might have confused him. Margarito is Jr. So he basically just said he had the closest relationship with Jay.
Probably seen him 3 or 4 times at the most.
So they weren't always together.
Nah. Margarita, I probably seen him
Peter.
3 or 4 times at the most.
So they weren't always together.
Nah. No.
What was, when you did see them together, how did they interact? I mean, were they,
I mean, you could tell the difference. The other one was very serious, very,
oh, they had a different personality from
yep. You know, Junior was very charismatic. I guess that's why he dealt with all the people. That's why he had all the friends.
Jay.
You know.
Margarito was less
Peter.
seen.
Yep. You know, Margarito, I've seen him a couple of times when he was actually out with his girlfriend, shit like that. And it was just like kind of like a nod, and that was it. He was a lot more serious. Junior was the charismatic one.
Which is a key part of the game. I mean, you have to have someone out there as the salesman, right?
Exactly.
What do you think about your childhood friend Valerie and the other girl are like really doing a massive press run?
When the Flores Twins were testifying against El Chapo, their wives were promoting the book Cartel Wives all over television. At the beginning of the series, there was a soundbite that said that they'll have to live in fear forever. And I posed the question, will that fear constantly be there, or will comfort quietly creep in? Those kind of comforts that get you killed, where you feel like, well, I'm ahead of the game, I'm winning thus far, let me push it. I think things like that, book tours and stuff like that is on a level of pushing it.
Their book, I mean, what do you think about it?
I don't know. At first, I was like, why? You know, I mean, I know they still have money. But
No, they still have money. Is that why they're in trouble now? I guess the United States government wanted them to be broke, expected them to be broke. They didn't see that out of the ladies, and they trying to put them in jail over it.
then it's like, do they want to share the message so like other young pretty girls like them don't make the same mistake?
Or do you think they just want attention?
Or is it just this whole new era of social media? You know, it's like a high they get nowadays from having you know, attention. It's I don't know where to put my finger on it. You know, I hope she's being safe.
That's an honest answer from JC. Whether they want to put their story out there as a cautionary tale or if they're just doing it for clout. Because to him, it's important that it's a cautionary tale. If you follow his page, which will be linked below, he's all about the cautionary tale. He wants to tell you where he's been to try to keep you from where you could end up. Very positive dude. He's trying to help people win. So that's important to him. If he's that close to Val and he can't pinpoint whether she's doing it as a cautionary tale or doing it for clout, just let you know that she's probably predisposed to clout. Always has been. Clout has been her thing from day one.
About everything. When you're getting that much exposure, people could find you if they're looking for you, you know? So it's like, I mean, I still worry. I worry about, you know, me, and I don't have El Chapo looking for me. So it's like, if I had him looking for me, you better damn sure I wouldn't be releasing a book or doing press release or nothing like that.
So even though El Chapo's organization is supposedly rolled up and El Chapo's gone, you think that the people that testified, snitched, provided information are going to always be in jeopardy?
Yeah, I mean, the dark world has long hands, man. Like, people don't realize that. Like, even if it takes 10, 20 years, man, people like that wait. They wait. They eventually get you. you know, and
You ain't telling no lie. And with those years comes a little bit more comfort. And a little bit more, let's go on this trip. And a little bit more, now let's make a movie. Now let's do a TV show. Now let's be on somebody's podcast. And then you come out of one of those podcasts and it's a wrap. Because you got comfortable. Dangerous game to play.
it's just not something to play with.
So JC's explaining his history in the game. He was a Satan disciple that flipped and turned Latin King. Satan disciples and Latin Kings absolutely hate each other. He also explained how once people got the bread and got that bag, they're able to pay to have a, let's call it a throwaway, do their dirty work for them.
I knew that people like that always need somebody small to do the dirty work. You know what I mean? Obviously, they don't want to lose everything they have. And, you know, I'm just going to be like flat out and say, you know, they'll have somebody else do their dirty work. I start noticing the feds, you know, I see white dudes in the elevator. I mean, I'm not stupid. I know what the feds look like. I know how they park. I know, you know, what they do. And I start noticing people around their office, around their homes. And, you know, I start thinking to myself, you know, what am I doing here? Like, you know, and my daughter was little at the time, you know, Valerie, and I was...
Mind you, his daughter's named after Val, so that just shows you how deep their connection is. And I believe Valerie is her daughter's godmother as well.
Mexico, and I got transferred, so
They traded a Mexican national that was in a U.S. prison for you.
Yep. So they transferred me over to El Paso, Texas, La Tuna Federal Prison, and that's where I stepped into the federal prison.
I'm wondering if at that time was the same time that Val got locked up in Mexico. If you recall, she said that there was someone that was supposed to drive the car and at the last second didn't want to, and she drove and they got caught. She got broke out. I wonder if Jay was the other guy and this was the incident. Kind of recall him mentioning a story like that. It sounds vaguely familiar, but I'll be looking for that.
You know, me and Kato start hanging out more. He was on a whole higher level, you know. For him to even mess with you, he was doing you a favor, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So he was married to Valerie. I knew Valerie since my teenage years.
Valerie was the daughter of a Chicago cop?
Yes.
This has always been the rumor. It's a rumor that they denied vehemently. We'll keep digging and see. In the recent past, there's been new developments on this rumor and things that reinforce it. So we'll get into that as we keep going forward.
So, you know, Valerie...
What was she like?
Valerie was like my older sister as a kid
Regular
growing
girl
up,
from
man.
the neighborhood?
Very smart, man. Business sassy,
Beautiful?
just beautiful.
Oh, she was smart, so she kind of was probably helping kids.
She was married to all the big dogs.
Well, I know
or
she went after the
dated-
Flores, but we'll get into
or
that.
dated the major players in Chicago, like even as a teenage girl. You know, she was with Oso from the same Disciples. He was a big hustler. Then she married Baby D from the same
Oh,
Disciples.
she was married before Kato?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, was she older than Kato?
No, she was like my
So
age.
this daughter of a Chicago police officer was married to like an equivalent of Kato before Kato, then Kato, and then she went on to marry one of the Flores brothers.
Yeah.
So she kept trading up in the dope game.
Well, she was sought out by a lot of people that, you know, she was beautiful, man. I mean, she was
Plus, she was
beautiful,
with the business.
beautiful, smart. She was a hustler.
So hearing that Val was married to two shot callers from the SDs, and then Kato, and then Jay Flores, it just brings me back to the thought in the series where she says, I loved him, but felt like I could feel his shoes. She loves the game.
I think her father was shady, or you have no idea?
Nah, her father was a straight square, man. I know who her father is.
What is he?
That was another question I had from the series too. My question was the irony of two cartel wives both come from police parents. I wondered how much their fathers were involved in the game. JC seems to think that her father was square and had nothing to do with it. And I believe him. It sounds like a genuine answer, and I'm sure he knows him.
What does he think about everything that
I mean, can you really control what your kids do, man? You know?
Jesus.
You know, it is what it is. It's like I tell people, sometimes, you know, you could come from a straight lawyer, preacher, whatever family, and if you like trouble, you like trouble.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's no way around it. You can't control how your kids are going to turn out. And Valerie was always a hustler. I mean, Valerie's the one that taught me the hustle game. Valerie, I remember the first time I got the $10,000, I went and I bought some Dickies and like some gym shoes, and she's like, oh, no. She's like, you can't dress like that no more. And I was like, what do you mean?
She was a teenager.
Yeah, I was like, what do you mean?
By the way, if you guys keep thinking that your microwave is beeping or your air fryer is beeping, nah, that's it's the workout equipment in the gym where they're interviewing JC. I had my own experience with those beeps and thought it was my microwave and couldn't figure it out. It was the video.
Like,
So you
no.
guys were close.
Yeah. She's like, I'm gonna take you shopping. And we went shopping and I bought lacrosse, gym shoes, lacrosse, shirts. I started making fun of it because I was like, you're dressing me like a golf player. And she's like, no, you look like a gangster now. She picked out my chain with my medallion. And she's like, now you can tell these will sweat you. She picked out my car.
She loved the game. Loved the game.
Wow.
Like she built me. She made me.
She
man.
must have grew up a few blocks from you, or?
I mean, at the time she was dating a close acquaintance of mine, from the same disciples, and she always had a liking for me. She always looked out for me. She took care of me too when I was in prison in Mexico. She would send me money and letters.
You guys are very close.
When she was actually living in Mexico.
She wasn't with Kato when you got locked up in Mexico.
No. She was.
So you actually your relationship with her predates.
Oh, since
her
teenagers.
Okay.
Yeah, since teenagers. Well, me and him just got closer because he was with Valerie. And Valerie was like, come over to the house, hang out with us, blah, blah, blah. So I would go hang out with them at their house every morning, smoke some weed, Kato knew how much Valerie loved me, how much she always wanted me to do good.
So evidently, JC's rise and the fact that Val had a relationship with Kato brought them closer together. JC's friend Kato Rangel was associated with celebrities like Fat Joe and DMX at the height of their fame.
DMX. So I remember when we flew out to New York, and there was to film that video with Fat Joe, Crush Tonight. Kato comes on the video, man.
And what?
The lifestyle was extreme, man. Like, I mean, everybody wanted to be him or wanted to be around him. I'll never forget the big New Year's Eve bash that we had at the studio. DMX was there. Like, his wedding was one of the biggest weddings in Chicago. DMX was there, gave a speech.
DMX gave a speech at his wedding.
Yeah, so like, it was.
Their relationship was super tight. Like, I asked X personally in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, why he hadn't been back to Chicago. And he told me flat out. He said, listen, Kato's not there. He said, when Kato was there, it felt right. Red carpet was rolled out, and I had my best friend there. Now all of that's different now that he's gone. So the relationship they had was a real relationship based on trust and appreciation. And those two guys, they loved each other very much.
It was like everybody wanted to be him. And everybody looked up to him, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's one of those success stories that you admire, you know what I mean? From the slums to being the big guy. So, I started getting into more, and eventually Kato stepped in and he was like, why don't you move to Arizona? Look out for Earl,
Oh, so him and DMX were so close that he suggested you come out here and help
Yes.
DMX, because DMX needed to be looked after.
Yes.
Was DMX pretty out of control?
Oh yeah. When has he been out of control?
It's like Kato was looking out for both of his boys at the same time, you know what I'm saying? Trying to send JC down there to look after Dog and really get JC out of the heat, you know what I mean? But he cared about his friends, man.
I moved down here, became part of the Phoenix Rough Riders motorcycle crew. Started hanging out a lot with D at his house. I started getting into trouble again slowly, man. I caught a DUI, went to prison. it started spiraling. I was doing good for a minute, working, staying out of trouble, staying out the dope game, and
June 4th, 2003, JC's friend Kato Rangel was killed in Chicago.
I get the call. Valerie was the first one to call me, and it was a night. I don't remember what day, but it was at night. And she's like, yo, they just killed Kay. And I was like, nah, like, what are you talking about? You know, Kay walks around with 20 guys. What are you talking about? And she's like, they just killed them. And I hung up the phone, and like 10 minutes later, at the time I was seeing a Chicago cop. I was dating her, and she calls me, and she's like, yo, they just killed your boy. And that's when it sunk in. I was like, all right, this is for real. So I called Valerie. I was like, yo, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to fly in? What do you want me to do? And she's like, yeah, fly in. So I fly back into Chicago. Valerie's a mess. You know, all the close boys that he had were at the house with Valerie. And we went to the funeral, man, and we picked up Fat Joe's wife. Fat Joe's wife was at the funeral. Picked her up from the airport. And I mean, DMX was there. There was a lot of celebrities there that day.
And this was totally unexpected. I mean, Kato wasn't, you didn't know, sometimes in that world there people can be at war and et cetera, and you kind of know you're in danger, but this came out of the blue?
Yeah.
What did you hear about the cause of it? Because I'm sure as his friend you were trying to find out what happened.
Oh, I mean, it was everything under the sun, man. I mean, from a setup, from an inside setup, from the guys to something gone wrong to...
So no one really could pinpoint it at the time?
No, and you know...
And then when you're moving at that level, you're involved in so many things and so many shady characters.
You don't know where it's coming from.
At that time, the rumor was that it was the twins. JC's close friend Kato was being supplied by the Flores Twins. The Twins were CHAPO's largest distributors in Chicago and possibly the United States. I believe definitely the United States.
I mean, they were always around. I mean, I met them the very first time that I met them, like face to face. Kato told me that they had been friends for a while, blah, blah, blah. Actually, pretty good dudes, really humble. No ego, no nothing, just pretty humble dudes.
That's pretty much along the lines of kind of how they describe themselves, you know what I'm saying? And we hearing JC confirm that. Does that mean that they're not capable of being nefarious behind closed doors and they probably have skeletons in their closets and unspoken betrayals? Quite possible. But he's confirming what they said, man. No ego. If you got close enough to rob me, you earned it. It's yours. That's their attitude. The twins recently testified against El Chapo. They received a plea deal of about 11 years in prison and will be released soon.
I started seeing them a little bit more, but then I started seeing them with like different. I would see them with also from this same disciples. I would see them. So
the biggest people.
Yeah, so I started putting two and two together, and I was like, okay, you know. But my thing of how I've always carried myself is like, I'm not the type of guy to take a picture with the celebrity. Like, I don't want a picture. I just want to shake your hand, that's it. So, never asked them for nothing. I would see them at nightclubs. They would buy me a bottle here and there, you know, say what's up. You know, they were the only ones that were actually riding around in Bentleys in the neighborhood, so you knew who they were.
Absolute consistency. They started riding around the hood in Bentleys. Like, I'd love to know what kind of fronts you had to justify them Bentleys. Otherwise, your safe is open, your window's open, and there's a spotlight going through it, and you're showing the world what you got.
Hey, these guys are even yet another step up the food chain from someone like Kato.
Oh yeah, those if you want to be somebody, you want to be them.
A RICO trial involving the Four Corner Hustlers gang in Chicago alleged that Kato was killed for taking 150 kilos of cocaine from the Flores Twins. It's always been the rumor that the twins put a bag on Kato's head. Recently, there's been a RICO trial involving the Four Corner Hustlers, and they are testifying that that indeed was the case. Could it be true that the twins put a bag on Kato's head? Or did the Four Corner Hustlers over these years before this RICO trial landed on them hear this rumor and run with this? Who knows? We're going to have to keep looking through the situation and deduct what happened.
Did they conduct themselves in a manner they should have been?
I think that when you're that up in the food chain, man, I think that you're supposed to carry yourself in a whole, like, I call it being a ninja in the shadows.
Absolutely.
If it would have been me in those shoes, I would have been riding around in an old ass Nissan
Absolutely.
with regular clothes on and just, you know.
But that's no fun.
It's not, but it's safe. I mean, we see it from all the stories. American Gangster. We see all the stories. That's always. I mean, even Scarface, the woman, the pizzazz, like it always leads to that. But I think it's in our.
That's the whole point of doing it, especially when you're young.
Yeah, it's.
There's ways to not incriminate yourself. There's ways to not self-snitch. It's like they did none of them. It's like they left the McDonald's job and then jumped in a Bentley and rode around. You get pulled over for an open container in that thing, and they ask you, why do you have this car? You ain't got no answer. You ain't got no pay stub from a legit job. You don't own no businesses. You don't have any legal assets. You just waiting for them to come down on you and take everything you own.
It's in our genes to like want to shine. So I don't know. It's just it's the devil, man. Like it's crazy.
JC moved to Phoenix after Kato advised him to leave Chicago and look out for DMX.
Me going back to Chicago was it wasn't an option. So when I got the call from Valerie and I went over there to the funeral and everything, it didn't sink in until I came back. I fell into a pretty deep depression mode, started using a lot of drugs. Just was really hooked on drugs bad.
Marijuana, cocaine.
Crack cocaine. And I would drink every day, I would smoke every day. It was really bad. The depression was really bad. I don't know why, it just felt emptiness in my heart. Maybe because I was just telling your buddy, about a year later, Kato came to me in a dream and we were both sitting on a bus stop. And he was telling me that he was proud of me. And I was telling him that I wanted to go back to Chicago because I missed the lifestyle. And he's like, no, stay down here. You're gonna be safe down here. You're gonna make it. And I was like, no, I wanna go back. And he's like, just promise me you'll stay here. He got on the bus and left. I started chasing the bus, started crying. And at the time, my girlfriend woke me up. She said, you were crying, like snobbing. And from that day on, I stopped using drugs. I stopped smoking crack cocaine.
It's like Kato was there to save this dude every step of the way. Sent him to Arizona in the first place, and when it was his decision to figure out what was next after Kato passed away, came to him in a dream and told him to stay in Arizona.
And I started getting my life a little bit better. I can't say 100% because it's not true, but I started doing better. And he's one of my biggest motivational factors now, like to actually do what I'm doing now. Because if I don't finish it, then it was all for nothing. About everything that happened, I wasn't surprised when Valerie ended up with everything that happened. I have my own personal thoughts about everything that happened. I wasn't surprised when Valerie ended up with Junior, you know what I mean?
Kato's wife Valerie married Pedro Flores. False. Kato's wife Valerie married Margarito Flores Jr. Y'all know him as Jay.
You know, they actually came out here. There's a lot of things out there, man.
You're sitting here with wigs and glasses, and how are you living your everyday lives?
I came from a wonderful family of law enforcement. I never thought that I would enter in a world of drug trafficking.
The Flores Twins' wives both had fathers that were Chicago cops. We know that. They're currently promoting their book, Cartel Wives. We know that too.
I always tell people there's like 4 sides to a story. I wasn't surprised that Valerie was with Junior because Valerie's very beautiful, and everybody wants a trophy wife, you know,
And that was, and to refresh everyone's memory, Kato was already Valerie's second
Yeah.
gangster husband.
Yeah.
Not to mention.
See, Al missed that. According to JC, Kato was Valerie's third gangster husband or boyfriend.
and
boyfriend.
not anybody could afford Valerie. Valerie was very high
And
maintenance.
she added to a guy's business. To
Yes,
some degree.
you know, she
She
knew
had
how to
connections,
carry
too.
herself. She had connections. She knew how to mingle the crowd. So it was a plus. They came out here on vacation, I want to say about maybe a year later after Cato's death.
Oh, they were
And-
together that quick.
And they were out here, and
They were together that quick. And remember, in the series, she had no apologies about it being that quick. In the series, she said, I don't care what nobody thinks. I love him, and that's it. It is what it is. All right. I'd like to hear what you have to say about these indictments that the folk on the hustlers are going through right now.
I went to
Do
go
you think
see
they
them.
were fooling around Cato's alive, or you don't know?
Nah, I don't.
But they
He-
immediately.
Yeah.
Again, I disagree. I believe they were messing around when Kato was alive, but I'm not as close to the story. You know what I'm saying? I also believe what he said about her father being a square. Some things are kept from people's eyes and they don't get to see them and they don't put the two and two together and work it out. But if you ask me, I think they was already, if not flirting with the idea, already all the way in with each other. Especially if they put a bag on Kato. If not, she'd have to feel like the biggest fool right now. Like, what if he lied to her and never told her that he put a bag on Kato, right? So she ended up with him under false pretenses. They go through what they go through in life. To find out in 2023 when she's fighting her case that these guys say they put a bag on her husband's head. She'd have to feel like the biggest fool ever. Or be in cahoots. I don't know.
I think their relationship was as much of a business venture as a love story.
They probably started that business and then ended up love, if you want to call it that.
If you want to call it love.
But you know, they came out here. I seen them. I talked to Junior. Then after that, I didn't see her or heard from her for a while.
What did you and Junior discuss? I mean,
Nothing. We were just, you know, they came out here. I kind of showed them around town. You know, pretty
at
much.
this point, they're, according to federal documents and their own confessions and El Chapo himself and the records of the Sinaloa cartel, at this time you'd have been showing them around Phoenix. I mean, they could have been two of the couple biggest drug dealers in the entire United States.
Yeah.
Did you get that feeling, or you weren't talking about that kind of stuff?
Nah, man. It's just.
There
I
you go
think
with Margarito.
the biggest thing that Valerie always seeked of me when we would meet up or talk was that bond, that family bond that we had. And then when they came in, it was, hey, how are you doing? We went out to eat, we hung out, had some beers.
And it didn't bother you that she had jumped straight
No,
from his
I mean-
death to a new guy. That's just the way it was.
It's just the way it is, man. I mean,
That's how she was anyway. So.
I think a lot of people, I just separated from my baby's mom, and a week later I met my girl and we're living together now.
Yeah.
And it's like, they tell me, oh, you moved too fast. I'm like, no, I spent 17 years in prison. Like, what is fast? Like, I want to be happy too.